Hey guys, this is the bloody adorable Jinx, and you are listening to Wrestling Cheers.
Making your way in the world today takes everything you got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You want to go where you can see that troubles are all the same. You want to go where everybody knows your name. You want to go where you can see that troubles are all the same. You want to go where everybody knows your name.
And welcome back to Wrestling Cheers, where everybody knows your name, especially when you're bloody adorable. This is Wrestling Cheers. We'd like to talk about things going on in the Northeast Ohio independent wrestling scene. We preview shows, we review shows, and sometimes we even have interviews along the way. This is an interview episode with the bloody adorable Jinx. I am your host. I am Justin Summers, also known as Heavy Set, but real life name, Justin Summers. And Wrestling Cheers is brought to you by Trending Topics Network, Midwest Territory, and Key on Sports. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to this fine podcast, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Podbean. WrestlingCheers.podbean.com. You can find us on all your social media, such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Facebook.com/WrestlingCheers, Twitter.com/WrestlingCheers, and Instagram.com/WrestlingCheers. Email, if you so choose to desire, WrestlingCheers@gmail.com. And we have the merch store over at warmaneuver.net. Like I said, this is an interview episode with the bloody adorable Jinx. Jinx has been someone that I've wanted to get on the podcast for a little while, and also this interview was recorded, I believe, I want to say in February. Like, a lot of these dates are kind of blending in, or maybe it was March. I don't remember, but the bottom line is, OCW booked Jinx, and I really wanted to have her on the show. We actually had a nice conversation late last year. I believe it was at AIW. She was just, sitting there hanging out with PB Smooth, friend of the show, and we just got in like a conversation about like interviews and everything. And actually, even before all this, I pulled her aside and I got the intro, the little clip you heard at the beginning. So because I wanted to get more female voices to do the intros, I'm trying to really spice that up, get a whole army of people. So it's not just some of the same voices going on and on and on. I need to actually pay attention on like how often certain people's get played, because sometimes I think I might overdo some of them. But anyway, so like after like having her do that, we had a really good conversation about podcasts and interviews and how people do them, and like the kind of questions they ask. And it's something that we get towards the end of the interview. I bring it back up one more time, but I'm not going to waste any more of your time. This was a very, very fun interview. One of the probably ones I'm most proud of. I don't think all of my interviews are great, but this one I think came off really, really well. Went for about the time frame that I wanted. We covered a lot, and it's not very repetitive from other podcasts you might have heard her on. So for now, let's get into the interview with the bloody adorable Jinx.
You wake up every morning, get yourself out of bed, and look in the mirror, and realize that you don't recognize the person looking back at you. You don't feel as whole as you should. You feel about half empty. You get in your car and go about your daily activities, and you think about all the opportunities that you missed. Opportunities you didn't take. Doors you left closed instead of open. You think about all the things that you could have done and the things that you chose to do instead. Well, that's where I come in. My name is Dr. Daniel C. Rockingham, and I am not only a motivational speaker, but I am a personal development coach, and my 3 principle system has changed the lives of countless people all over the world. I invite all of you to stay with me today and listen as I help you change your lives and give all of you a new beginning.
All right, we are back here on the podcast, and I'm being joined with actually the first female interview by me on the podcast.
Oh, wow.
None other than the bloody adorable Jinx.
Hello. Yes, that is an honor then. I did not know that.
Caden technically did do a couple interviews on the show, but I'm not Caden. But
fair
still,
enough.
So I can't
the
say
one
you're
that you did.
So I can't say you're the first official.
The first official by you.
Yeah, first official live one-on-one by me.
Gotcha.
So how's it going, Jinx?
Pretty good here in Ohio, at OCW. Just before the show, hanging out in a room adjacent to a locker room.
Yeah.
Pretty normal wrestling thing.
Yeah. It's so cool. Like, I was so happy when they announced your booking.
Yeah.
Because you don't you get PCW and that's kind of it.
And even then I haven't I don't go to Ohio a lot anymore. I felt like it was the one place that I went all the time. I felt like I was I do Ohio all the time. And now I'm getting I go to weird states now, or I'm going to so many different places. I just did Chicago.
Chicago's nice.
Chicago is super fun. I did Kaiju Attack out there.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They worked the craziest venue I've ever seen. It was this full restaurant and beer distributor place. It was beautiful. I get next week and the week after that, I'm going to New Jersey.
Okay.
Which is wild that I'm going back there twice. That's two of the same exact drive.
I know one of them is against Tara Calloway.
Yeah, I get to wrestle Tara Calloway, which I'm super excited about.
If that was closer, I was oh God, I want to go. But I'm New Jersey. I'm I'm there in spirit.
It's a hike for me, so understandable. But also, I'm very excited to wrestle Tara. I'll definitely be excited to do that. And then I get to do WSQ, where Combat Zone runs the next week, which is a really cool goal for me. Mm-hmm. Growing up and still being a really big ECW fan.
Yeah.
And then obviously growing into CZW and things like that.
Yeah.
It's such a crazy thing for me to be I get to complete going there. And hopefully it leads to me being able to go back and keep working at different areas, because it's super interesting for me to be able to say I'm going to different states like that, not just Ohio and West Virginia, places that I'm super used to going, that I'm getting different opportunities in places that don't get to see me that often.
I think that's one thing I love from being a fan's point of view is when I see people break out, whether it's break out from here and a lot of people from here doing Southern Underground Pro and a couple going to all these other states. You actually were booked for Scenic City, I know, last year. And I'm oh my God, that's fucking awesome.
Which was, super crazy to even be able to get the opportunity to go down there. It sucked that I wasn't able to make it, but just the opportunity to break out and have people see me that wouldn't usually see me.
Yeah.
Getting to show my face in front of crowds and people that haven't been able to make it to the same places I usually go. Super cool.
That's the fun thing about the internet. I know people down in Florida that like you. The people associated with Fully Gimmick, they're oh yeah, we love Jinx. And I'm that's so awesome because
it is so crazy that the power of the internet has gotten me a following in places where I'm how do you even know who I am? Yeah. It's so wild to be able to be associated with pro wrestling on a wider aspect than just the Pennsylvania, Ohio area.
Yeah.
Being able for people to be oh yeah, I know of her. Even if they're not I know her, I've seen her matches. I'm a really big fan of her wrestling. Just the fact that people know who I am and they're maybe kind of oh, she's kind of funny on Twitter sometimes.
You're funny. You're funny.
I appreciate that. Just the fact that people know my persona on a more widespread platform is crazy. But that is definitely the power of Twitter and Instagram and the internet. It's an amazing, I think anyone will say that it's equally amazing and painful to be on a social media platform like that. It's a very slippery slope, I think, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Channel Awesome on YouTube.
Yeah.
And Tamara, she she's part of that channel and she has her own channel. She recently did a 2-month hiatus from the internet.
I get it.
And she talked about how like that really like helped her out with a lot of stuff.
You gotta cleanse yourself of it sometimes.
And like that's one thing I hate about kind of what I do with like this podcast stuff. Like I have to be on Instagram, I have to be on Twitter, and I can't do that. But what I did is back in November, because last year I watched the movie Won't You Be My Neighbor, and fell in love with Mr. Rogers, fell in love with the kindness and the niceness. I looked at like social media. I'm like,
absolutely.
People just are like, I hate this. This is dumb. I'm like,
so easy to just complain.
Yeah. And I'm like, I just took all November, like everything I post, I tried to post like positive.
For sure.
Like maybe I'd have conversations, and some people are like, well, that's being negative. I'm like, no, I'm just like, I'm not telling you I hate something. I'm just like, we're having a discussion about something.
You can have, I think people are so easy, especially like on the internet, because you're not face to face.
Yeah.
It's so easy to spit venom at something or take something as being argumentative. Yeah. Where it's like, no, we can just be adults and discuss why, like, hey, this is something that I don't like as much. It's just not my cup of tea, which I think is a big thing in wrestling.
Oh,
where
God, yes.
People, if they don't like it, it's not right.
Yeah.
Which is, I feel like people don't realize, like, not everyone's gonna like Van Gogh's paintings, but that doesn't mean he wasn't a good artist.
Yeah.
Like, I can understand disliking death matches, disliking comedy wrestling, disliking this or that wrestler for something they did. Yeah. But it doesn't mean that they immediately are the worst thing that's ever happened. They're ruining the business.
Oh, God,
all of this. It's like, no, that's what makes wrestling so cool. And that's one of the reasons that I love wrestling so much, is it's just like, there's something for everyone in it. It's not just fighting in a ring in costume. Yeah. There's like so many stories to tell.
Yeah.
Like, just because you don't like intergender wrestling, you don't like females in wrestling, blah, 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 that doesn't mean it's like an inaccurate thing.
No.
That doesn't mean it like can't be done well. It's just like, might not be your cup of tea.
Yeah, like people just get so wrapped up. Like, even like if you go like some of the bigger stuff, like, people go like bitch about WWE. I'm like, man, if you don't like WWE, don't watch it, don't talk about it. I'm like, there's so much more out there. Like when I started becoming an independent wrestling fan, like that was in 2011, and women's wrestling in WWE wasn't good. Like,
it sucked,
So I kind of like turned my focus. I started like following independent scene, you know, fall in love with like wrestlers like Veda Scott. And at that time, Sarah Del Rey was like on her last like year. And I was like, oh, this is like,
this is like good women's wrestling. Like women can be good at wrestling.
Yeah. And like how way I described it is like, okay, this is good. And like, I didn't care as much. Like I didn't bitch like, well, WWE's doing this. I'm like, well, they're doing good over here. I like this. So maybe they'll catch up. And I mean, now we're to a point where like it's
amazing. It's going to be a main event of WrestleMania, like women's wrestling.
I really hope that does.
I'm so excited for that.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to me because I will openly say that when I started wrestling and for most of my life, I had such an angry grudge against women's wrestling. Yeah. Like I would openly say I hated women's wrestling. I thought it sucked. Because when I was like growing up, or like when I was starting to like become a big fan of wrestling, it was in that era where women were just there as it's like a special attraction match where they don't really know what they're doing. And it's just like, you're not really trained, but just go in there and have a cat fight and people will cheer because you're women.
Yeah.
So I just had like this huge grudge against it.
Yeah.
So it's super cool for me to not only see like the level of like the caliber of females in wrestling and also see myself becoming like a fan of women's wrestling more and appreciating the other females in wrestling and not just being like grumpy about how bad it was when I was like growing up on wrestling. And
I feel like too now there's so many different like types of women that are being like spoken for in WWE.
It's very versatile now. It's not all just like
models.
The same kind. Yeah, exactly. It's not all just models that were found randomly.
Yeah.
And they were like, you look good. Let's put you in a fun costume and have you like go out in front of a crowd.
Yeah. Like I know like not as many people like her, but like, you know, like Tamina and Nia Jax. I'm like, those are different women. Those were like, I wanted those type of women for a while. Cause I'm like,
absolutely.
I'm like, we get the model types. So that's fine. I'm a huge fan of Natalya. And I feel like I
love Natalya.
She's model S, but like, she's
versatile. Yeah. She's different.
Yeah. But I wanted someone who just like, you just kind of like Awesome Kong, where just like someone not watching wrestling could see them
love
and go,
Awesome Kong.
Someone not watching could go, oh, like I'm scared of that. I'm like, I wanted that. And I feel like Nia and Tamina, especially like Tamina, like she's been around for so long. Yeah.
I think like just her facial expressions and the stuff. One of my favorite things that they've done in a while was I found it super interesting and super cool when they had Tamina being managed by Lana.
Yes.
Just because I think it's such a cool concept to have a woman being managed by another woman.
That's true.
That's not a usual thing.
Yeah.
Is to have a woman that's genuinely like managed. Yeah. Like a female equivalent to Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman in a sort of way.
Yeah. And the thing is too with Tamina, I believe she's a mother, and that's what made me give a whole new appreciation for her, because I'm like, oh, she
can flip that switch.
Like she does the wrestling stuff, and then like I know she'll go away from time to time, but like she needs to be a mother, and I'm like, I respect that so much. She like knows her boundaries. Yeah, she knows what she wants to do, which I think, I love Tamina, and also because she does have that look and that really menacing presence. Yeah, where she's badass. I like Tamina a lot. One thing that I did want to talk about, because I couldn't find many interviews from you. Sure. Because that's something we talked about before we started recording, and that's like Jinx is a hard, like,
not easy to vanity search.
Yeah. Like I could type in Jinx on a podcast platform and it'll just give me a plethora, just so many different things about Jinx.
League of Legends. A lot.
Well, there's that. I know there's Pokemon.
Yes. Pokemon spelled with a Y, which is literally just like a drag queen Pokemon.
Okay. I was actually curious where you got your name from.
It was a name that came from like it now has various meanings to me, and it's kind of grown in meaning as I kept going, which really I just like had no idea what I wanted my name to be. And it was something that my trainer, Chris LaRusso, gave to me. He was just like, what about Jinx? And I was like, I can kind of see that. I think it's a character that would do well with just like a one-word name. Yeah. It really makes sense. I also am a big Teen Titans fan. Okay. And, Jinx was a villain in Teen Titans. And then I grew to learn one of my friends that's in the business. Her name is Morgan Rockefeller. She did a lot in the Pittsburgh area. And she's been in wrestling from that time frame when women were just like not trained and you were just like escorting people to the ring. Yeah. And apparently that was what she really wanted her wrestling name to be. Okay. So at a time when I was just like kind of wanted to change it for a lot of that reason, where I was like, oh, it's really hard to find me on the internet. I don't know what to like. It kind of just like, that was mainly it. I just felt like it was really hard to find me. And then I realized it's just like, it not only kind of fits who I am, and also I'm just like already here. Yeah. I have the Bloody Adorable too, which kind of makes it a little bit easier to find. And it also has a sort of like deeper rooted meaning to me. So I dig it. There are some days where I like the name more than others. Yeah. And wish I had something more to it, like in times where it's really hard to vanity search me. But yeah.
Like to me, when I first heard the name, the first thing that came to mind with Jinx, because actually I'm not a big Pokemon fan. Yeah. I don't know much about League of Legends. It actually goes back to, I don't know if you've ever played this game, Super Mario RPG. Yeah. There's a character that's, I think he's definitely a villain. It's it's like one of the bosses of one of like the stages of it was named Jinx.
Yeah. It's a fun villain name, I feel like. Which
it kind of is, yeah.
Like Jinx is a fun villain name, which I appreciate.
Yeah, that really, really helps you out.
Yeah. It's a easy name, but also I feel like it fits. I feel like it's a good character to just have one word name.
Yeah. And I think too with like that just power of the internet, like now there are wrestling fans that hear that name and like they think of you. Yeah. So that works.
Yeah, I feel like it's just what I'm associated with now. And like I said, some days I wish there was more to it just because of the day and age we were in. Mm-hmm. But hey, like Edge went with it his whole career. So, you know.
I mean, there's a lot of like good one-word names, whether like in music or like wrestling. Absolutely. Like I keep thinking, I mean, well, Cher, Madonna. Yeah. There's definitely no more in wrestling, but yeah, it works.
Absolutely.
I can't imagine trying to be Christian and trying to vanity search yourself.
Oh my God, that would be awful.
You're getting a whole bunch of different things.
It could be way worse. Sting.
Yeah. I hate Sting. Which one is he talking about?
I know. Watch Sting.
Anyway, I know you're a big fan too of like horror.
Absolutely.
I'm not huge into it, but there's a few things that I did want to talk about.
Absolutely.
This is what sucks. Like I listened to some of the Pittsburgh the intergender things you did. Yeah. And for some reason I wrote this down and now I look back, I'm like, why did I say that? I have a note of just Dexter. How do you feel? Like, were you a fan of the show?
I do enjoy Dexter. I feel like I might have talked about Dexter in some way, shape, or form.
I don't know.
But
fun show. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Dexter's awesome. But I am definitely a huge true crime fan. I feel like I probably talked about how I've taken bits and pieces of my character from characters like Dexter. I associate myself a lot with like Hannibal Lecter, things like that. In terms of like personality and thought process. I'm a really big true crime fan.
That's like the huge thing right now.
I'm a really big true crime fan because I actually come from like a psychology and therapy background.
Okay.
I've never officially gone to college, but I used to like help a lot in like group therapies and stuff like that. Okay. And I'm a really big fan of psychology and criminal psychology. So, which I think really helped me coming into pro wrestling because that's
one of the like probably good like hand in hand.
I know why people tick, which not only is fun in character building and being able to help with story, it helps when you're dealing with people that aren't always fun to deal with. Yeah. Because, you're like, okay, there's a reason for this. You're not just like, wow, what an ass. Yeah. So, yeah, I feel like even more than horror, I am a big like true crime fan and a big like criminal psychology fan, which is something that I take a lot into account in character building. Okay. So, yeah.
How did you feel about the ending of Dexter? Because I feel like when it comes to that show, that's the most controversial thing about it.
Absolutely. I think Dexter's one of the shows that I kind of fell off of it the longer that the series went on. I felt the same way about House. Like, because I used to be a huge House fan. Yeah. And it's like the longer the series went on, you were just like, all right, you can only do so much. Like, you can only kill people so much.
Yeah. Like, I felt like with Dexter, like obviously everybody says the same thing. It peaked with the Trinity Killer. Exactly. Because that season was so good. I don't think necessarily it means the rest were crap. It's just that one was so
It was so good that the rest of it was like, oh, okay.
And I even knew that Rita was going to die. Spoilers if you don't already know. It's been out for a long time. But
yeah, it's been long enough. Whatever.
I accidentally got spoiled reading something and it basically says after, it was just saying like Trinity killed Rita. And I'm like, fuck. So I didn't know when it would happen. So when I get to that last episode, I'm like, all right, she's going to die. She's going to die. And like when he kills him.
And it still got you.
Well, no, I was just like, oh, maybe what's going on? And then he like walks in. I'm going to go, I forgot.
That was, it gets you so much. Like in those seasons, you get so emotionally invested. Yeah. That the rest of it, I feel like you're just kind of like, I don't know what else can we do? Like
that, I felt like that season was good. Then after that, the like Christian Killer, like that, the dude that did like all the, maybe he's like Apocalypse Killer. It's been a while since I've rewatched it.
It was very Zodiac related. I think they wanted to do something that was very similar to the Zodiac Killer. Yeah. Which I did. I like that. I liked Dexter and I really like Criminal Minds because they are two shows that like very much base themselves off of real serial killers, which makes sense. Like there's things that actually happen. We might as well use them. So yeah, like I'm pretty sure, it was like the Apocalypse something. They definitely did something very Zodiac related. Yeah.
And like, I love that season.
It's been forever since I've watched it too.
I think it was like a couple years ago I rewatched it. My girlfriend wanted to watch it. And I'm like, I'll watch it. Like, I have to watch from beginning to end. The only season I don't like is 3. Yeah. And that's the one with like Mexican lawyer.
Yeah, where you're just like, okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm like, literally, there's nothing like huge that comes out of that season.
Exactly. It's very anticlimactic. Yeah. So you're just kind of like, whatever.
And especially like 1 was really good. I still like 2 because that's when they go after Dexter.
I loved season 2. I loved those first seasons. And like you said, the seasons after, like towards the end, they weren't bad per se. But it was, again, it just kind of was like anticlimactic after they got you so good for a while. And again, it's also like, I feel like we can only kill people so many times, man. Yeah. I feel like I just get, like, I know your gimmick
tell that
now.
To a serial killer, but...
Yeah, right? It's like, I know your gimmick now. I get it. It's like, I felt the same way with House, where it's like, we can only save sick people from, like, real wild diseases. Yeah. So many times.
But it's like the ending people... I'll just say what my reaction was. It was great up until the last minute. Yeah. Where they, like, oh, no, he's alive. And I'm like,
it was one of those things where it was, like, super cool, and then it just like kind of ruined it it ruined the entire thing because the ending was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Like, I know so many people were just like, well, I hate it. I'm like, well, like if they would have just cut, like, okay, he goes in the boat, he dies, boom.
Yeah, I'd have been really like good until they like just tried to make it open-ended.
You're like, oh, he could come back. And I'm like, no, please don't.
Yeah, they tried to make it an open-ended thing, which I'm like, dude, you've been running this series, which people could say for too long now anyways. Yeah. You might as well just like let it happen.
Another horror thing that I know that I love, and I think I was told you like this. What are your thoughts on the Saw franchise?
I love Saw.
Me too.
I love Saw. I don't particularly know why I love Saw so much, but like, I love Saw. It's one of those things where I'm watching it and I'm like, this is too much, but also I'm obsessed with it. I feel the same way about the Hostel movie. I love Hostel. I love Hostel. I actually once really wanted to get like the Hostel, like the Bloodhound tattoo.
Okay.
And then for some reason I became increasingly paranoid that like it was a real thing and that I was going to get like inducted into the Elite Hunting Society. And I was like, I can't do this now. But I feel like I will probably go back and get like an Elite Hunting Club, like the Bloodhound tattoo, because I really love Hostel. I love me some good, like, weird horror movies. Yeah. But yeah, Saw's awesome. I've always loved Saw. I think those were the first horror movies that I was genuinely like, yes.
Like, I've never got into like horror, like when it comes to like a lot of the slash and everything. Like, I'll watch them, that I'm not like obsessed. But what got me with Saw is the second one.
The one where they're in like the house. Yeah. It's
because that's what I've explained to people. One like sets up kind of the premise, but you can't repeat that movie.
Also, because that movie was so low budget, they never expected it to like take off the way that it did. So the movie was so low budget. Yeah, and then I think that movie just did so well that they were able to like keep growing it. Yeah. And yeah, I love the second movie.
But what I'm talking about is like that the whole thing of like Jigsaw being in the room.
Yes.
And like, who's the killer? Which
was wild.
Yeah. So then they had to really set the tone with the second movie. And the moment that I fell in love with it was when the timer goes off and that safe opens. And it's just like, if you would sit here and talk to me until this timer runs out, like you'll find your son in a safe and secure state. And I'm like, oh my God, these movies are riddles. I love it.
I love that they all intertwine themselves.
Yes.
They all intertwine themselves. But I feel like it's in a way that if you were to go and watch them separately, you wouldn't be completely lost. But the
intertwining them, because like 3 and 4 are literally like the same time. Like the timeline is like 1, 2, 3, and 4. Frames. Yeah.
They're a lot smarter than people think they are. Like those movies are a lot. I mean, people could obviously argue with it, but I think they are absolutely. But I think those movies are a lot more well put together than people think they are, rather than just like. It's people getting killed in weird ways, like, because they do put together like weird stories and they overlap timelines. Yeah. You kind of have to figure it out.
When the 4th one came out is when I got caught up with the series. I watched 1, 2, then 3. Mm-hmm. So that obviously knowing I was going to go see 4, and everybody I know was just like, why are they going to do 4? He's already dead. And this,
but is he?
But this is where they started like, they'll do something in a movie that they won't explain until the next one.
Yeah.
Like while Jigsaw's talking, he's like pouring wax on something. And they don't explain it in the movie.
Little things that keep going. Yeah.
And like I noticed that before 4, and I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? What is he pouring wax on?
Explain it.
Yeah, and then at the beginning of 4, like he takes the piece of wax up, which is a tape, and eats it. And I'm like, yes, the little things.
I totally forgot about that. That was awesome. The movies that did that too was the first 2 Insidious movies.
I have those. We haven't watched those because I recently watch The Nun. And I end up having it, like, now my girlfriend wants me to watch all of them.
The first 2 Insidious movies, I think you'll love because of that. Because they end up like going back to each other on things that you didn't even think were like a thing.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And it's done by the people that do Saw. So that makes sense.
Yeah. Because I think when people were like after 3, I was like, why do they keep doing it? Because like I said, with that aspect, and they're just like, keep checking it out. I'm like, are you paying attention? There's like little things. And sometime after 4, I started like going on like a YouTube conspiracy theory of like Saw.
I love those like weird holes that you go into on YouTube.
But with that time, I was like trying to explain things, like who was going to be behind something. My biggest question, spoiler alert here if you've never watched these movies, I'm like, where's Dr. Gordon? Like, even after the first movie, I'm like, he
literally chopped off his leg and left.
Yeah. And then I'm like, they end up like, I think in the second one, they go back through those sewers, and I'm like, you don't just see, there's a dead body with one leg.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I knew he had to be alive. Yeah. There was no way that he wasn't, because they would have explained it.
Well, and then like one of the videos I watched was like, if you pay attention to this one clip, I think it's the beginning of 2 or 3, where the key's behind the guy's eye, they're like, the doctor has a limp and he's doing the same leg, and they end up in 7, they recreate it. I'm like, like people who like talk shit about that movie, like they did like 7 movies.
The scene where he like sears his leg together makes me kind of barfy. Like, I don't get freaked out or like grossed out by a lot of things in life. Yeah. But for some reason that wigged me out. I was like, don't do it. Shit, that hurts.
But yeah, I'm a huge,
love soft.
The end of the final movie was just that. As much as as shitty as people would say that movie was, I'm just like, that's the greatest movie because
so good.
The ending just fulfilled me. I'm just like, and then when they did Jigsaw, I was like, please don't fuck up my movie.
And it was still good
because they end up doing okay, what you're seeing is partially after, but partially anything with Jigsaw was before, and I'm like. Okay, because I was literally sitting through this movie. I'm like, if you tell me he's fucking alive this whole time,
I'm gonna be so mad, right? Don't ruin this timeline for me.
That's just you're ruining the canon. But then
honestly,
but they explain. I'm like, okay, I got appreciation for that.
Because I can get that because they do have wonky timelines sometimes that it takes you a while to realize where we are in the story. So it's are they? Is he really alive? And then you're like, no, we're just in a weird time frame.
Yeah, 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Another thing that I want to get into, because I feel like you don't talk much about this, or maybe you do and I just haven't caught all of it.
Sure.
Ghost hunting.
Oh, yeah.
I don't. Explain this, because I have so many questions, where did it start for you? All that kind of stuff.
Really, it's not a thing that I really do. I'm not a master ghost hunter or anything like that.
Yeah.
It just started with me and Ray Lynn wanted to go to spooky places during Halloween time. And, I've always enjoyed learning about the paranormal and learning about things like that. And we went to the West Virginia State Penitentiary, which was the first time I'd ever been to somewhere that was like that, an abandoned haunted place. And we ended up being the only 2 people on this tour, and we were led by a dude that actually was a prison guard there for a really, really long time. Wow. So it was just him taking us through the penitentiary, telling us all these crazy stories and stuff like that. So I feel more than ghost hunting, I really enjoyed learning about the crazy fucked up history of stuff like that. Yeah. Learning about I can completely understand how someone's really dark energy could be trapped in a place like a penitentiary or a psych ward or something like that. So yeah, I don't know. I enjoy that.
Did you grow up a fan of the Ghostbusters?
Not really.
Really?
A fan of watching weird shit on the Travel Channel.
Which now that's everything is ghost hunting, ghost stories, which I grew up with Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah, exactly. And
for
sure.
Those the ghost stories were literally my favorite.
The best. Yeah, I love stuff like that. It used to scare the shit out of me, but also I loved it. Yeah. So that was where the love for it began, and then being able to find opportunities to go and put myself in those weird situations. Because we also went to psych ward. We went to a psychiatric place. I don't know which one it was in. It's gonna bother me. I don't know where it was. It wasn't Eastern State, which is blah. But we did a hunt through there. Or got to just walk around there a little bit. Also super duper interesting. But mainly just going to weird haunted abandoned places became our thing for a while. And now she's in Japan. And sending me places pictures of weird graveyards that she finds in Japan.
Really?
Which is awesome.
I've never thought about their graveyards.
Yeah, she's they are really old. She's
oh God, yeah.
She's they're just really old graves. Which, I wouldn't even think about that.
Because when I think of Japan, I think of some of the stereotypical things. I love when it comes to any country, I could talk about food or trying to learn okay, what's your weird thing?
Culturally, what? Yeah.
Yeah. I think I've had because I actually subscribed to a thing called Tokyo Treat for a while. Yeah. So they would send me these Japanese snacks, and I got the one with the drink,
which is super cool.
That's fun. Just experiencing that kind of stuff, and also
things that are normal in other countries to just have.
Before he got signed, Killian Dane, when he was in AIW as Big Damo for Jaylit one year, we had a conversation of what is different between food over there and food over here? What do you have that we don't have, and what do we have that you what are these similarities? I know I've heard some people from England they love our cereal or something.
Also, we have ranch dressing. I didn't realize that other places don't have ranch dressing.
It kind of makes sense though.
I get it.
It's such an I like ranch dressing.
Ranch dressing is such a white people thing.
Yeah.
I love ranch dressing.
Yeah, same thing.
I will eat everything with ranch dressing, but I'm also gross. So I accept it wholeheartedly. But I didn't even think about it until I don't even remember how I found out. But I was like, you mean you don't have ranch dressing?
Oh, yeah. Like, I know over there, one of the big candies is called Jelly Babies. And I found out about them through Doctor Who. And I remember, like, having conversations with people.
Yeah, I do remember that, yeah.
I've had, like, conversations with people from England. I'm like, yeah, we don't have those. What? Why?
Yeah, it, like, wigs people out.
And I'm like, oh, because one of the ingredients is, like, illegal over here. What? What do you mean, like, our candy is illegal? Like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I've had some, because for a while you can get it off Amazon. I'm like, well,
yeah,
I'll get off Amazon.
Yeah, you can get like anything on Amazon, for real.
Oh, yeah. I was told to bring this up with you.
Oh, God.
And it kind of a little bit of a transition from ghost hunting to haunted house.
Oh, man.
PB Smooth.
Yes.
Brought up the haunted house that you went for his birthday in Pittsburgh.
That was so fun.
Where was it?
It was Scare House, which is in Pittsburgh. Okay. They work a lot with actually like the company that did those, like the Sorgatron Media that does like it did our intergender wrestling like roundtable and stuff like that. Yeah. So we all went to Scare House, and they also before that for like promotional things, I got to get like my makeup done by those people, like get zombie makeup done,
seen that,
and stuff like that. It was super fun. So that was a great experience.
Like, do you like haunted houses?
Oh,
I
love haunted houses. Okay. Which is weird because I'm probably the most jumpy person alive. Like, I'm super jittery. Okay. But for some reason, I'm a glutton for punishment, I guess. So
the thing is with me, like, I've never been scared inside one.
Yeah.
It's a compliment if someone catches me off guard and I jump a little bit.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, I'll walk into like rooms and I'm just like, immediately I'm scoping. I'm like, all right, where are you going to come from? And then they pop out. I do that
too, but they still scare me because I'm just so jumpy. I don't know why.
Like, they'll pop out and I go, okay, yeah, cool. Yeah. Hey, man, what's up?
But I got to go through that haunted house like multiple times. Like, I think I want to say I went through once, maybe before I went with everyone for PB's birthday. I know before PB and I got to like go through before it was open, and they just like showed us the rooms and like what was going on. So it was actually really interesting to get to go and like see where everything like went on, and then be oh, that's what they were talking about. Like, still scared the shit out of me, absolutely. But it was really it was definitely a different light to see like the production behind it, and then go through it, and then we got to go through it again when we got our zombie makeup done. Okay. Which they were like, yeah, if we're sitting here and just like getting your face painted for promotional things, yeah, we'll just let you go through the haunted house. So, and none of us expected it. So we were just like, okay. And I think we were like one of the last people to go through for the night. Okay. So they were just like going wild by that point, which was really fun.
My dream, because I'm a huge Ghostbusters fan, I've wanted to go through a haunted house dressed like a Ghostbuster.
That would be super fun,
yeah. Like, whether they would allow me to bring, like, a proton pack or not, or at least have a PKE meter when they come out. I'm just, like, scanning them. I'm like, that's fantastic. And, like,
that would be great.
Because I just want to see, like, if they would, like, laugh or they would just, like, kind of get mad and try to scare me more. Yes. Like, I would just go full gimmick on it because I just think it'd be so hilarious.
Yes, I can see that. I want to go in. Like, it was actually really funny to go through with the zombie makeup on. Yeah. Because I think we kind of concerned them.
Because it's like I don't say you're trying to be part of the show, but it's just like, you're like flipping the tables a little bit.
We did get our makeup done by the people that do their makeup. So we were just kind of there.
It's like you were working, but you weren't.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I kind of already worked for you, but also like now I'm here to have fun. I don't know. Yeah. It was very interesting. I think they got very confused.
Do you have a favorite haunted house that you've been through? That's just like maybe the most memorable, the one you've been through the most?
There's one that's closer to me that's called 100 Acres Manor. Okay. I've been through that one probably the most. Scare House is awesome just because of like the experience that I got to have with Scare House. Yeah. The fact that I know them and know how much goes into it. Like, it's amazing to see like the year-round production value and the year-round like creating of putting on just like that awesome haunted house. Kennywood Park in Pittsburgh during
really?
Yeah. During Halloween season, they have Phantom Fright Nights, which are super fun. They have lots of haunted houses, and then they also just have like people walking around the park trying to scare you while you like wait to go on a roller coaster. which gives me utmost anxiety. But again, I'm a glutton for punishment, I guess. So
this also goes for two things when we're talking about a haunted house and actually something that has that kind of history of actual like possibility of being haunted. Is have you ever been to Mansfield Penitentiary?
No, but I would love to.
Because I've done the haunted house thing. Like that's kind of cool because it's a lot more open spaces because like just some of the areas that are just obviously bigger.
Exactly.
And like where you like walk through cell blocks like up up and around both sides.
It's not so much like, oh, this used to be a jail. It's more just like more open.
Anybody can like
space.
pop out from anywhere.
Yeah. It's like a lot more area than just like I'm walking down a hallway.
Yeah. One of my favorite parts when I went through, like my girlfriend hates clowns. Hates clowns. And we get to one part and she sees a clown and like she goes scared. And then he's like, welcome to Clown Town. And that whole cell block was nothing but clowns.
That's hilarious.
I was just like, oh, this is going to be fun.
That's amazing. Yeah. I hate dolls and I hate fire. But I also respect dolls because they do scare me. So, I can respect the fact that they actually terrify me. So I do like seek out doll related things because I enjoy that they do make me freaked out.
Okay.
Fire can just fuck off. I don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah, fire could be scary.
I don't feel like burning right now. Don't feel like having blisters. Also the concept of drowning. Not here for it.
Yeah.
Ocean in general. Don't want it.
Yeah, I've only done that once and I'm like,
not
big old salty water. I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah, great. Can't even go underwater without feeling pained. Like my eyes burn now, thanks.
All right, we'll start to wrap the show up. And what we do at the end of these shows for interviews is we have our fave 5 questions.
Oh, man. Okay.
Which, in honor of Booker T, there's 6.
Hey, this is Booker T, 5-time champ, and this is the fave 5 questions. Now, can you dig it?
So, these are random.
All right.
I have a list that just I pick from them.
Perfect.
We'll start with one. This one probably works for you.
Okay.
Addams Family or Munsters?
Addams Family, but I do appreciate Lily Munster.
Okay. This is one thing I've said about this.
But also, I love Addams Family just like because they're actually like such a wholesome family.
Yeah.
They're like such a great family.
And the crazy thing is, both shows were on like roughly the same time.
Yeah.
Like started like within weeks of each other, ended within weeks of each other.
Like a creepily same timeline.
Yeah.
Which is impressive that they were both as successful as they were. You'd think that one would outshadow the other.
Yeah. But I feel like there's no right or wrong answer because it's just like, well, maybe I prefer Universal Monsters, exactly. So I go Munsters, or just like, well, I like the originality of the Addams Family, or I love the romance between Morticia and why am I blanking on its name?
Gomez, thank you.
But
it took me a second too. Yeah. I'm on the spot. I can't do it.
Or even like I know as a kid, like as much as I love the Munsters, like Thing and Cousin It, like those two individuals, it's just like Thing was awesome because it was just a hand.
There's about both of them.
Yeah. So there's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah. Understandable.
Question number 2. You're traveled. You've been many places.
Pretty well seasoned traveled a little bit.
Sheets or Wawa?
Sheets.
Hands down?
Yes. Wawa might have better coffee.
Okay.
But as per food, Sheets.
Yes.
I actually didn't realize that this wasn't just a Pittsburgh thing until I started coming to Cleveland fairly often, but Get-Go has Purdue too. Get-Go has really good food.
Understatement.
Sheets is probably that's my go-to, but Get-Go is a pretty solid side bitch. Get-Go is a good, side hoe.
For me, it's Get-Go's number 1, but people just go, well, what side do you want, Sheets or Wawa? I say Get-Go, and they're like, But I know there's a bunch of other, third options around the country.
I genuinely thought Get-Go was just, because I thought, Giant Eagle was just a Pittsburgh thing. I didn't know that, Get-Go...
Yeah, we've leaked it. That's been leaked for years, Giant Eagle, yeah.
I didn't know that, Get-Go was out of, the general Pittsburgh area. So it blew my mind when I was like, there's Get-Go's here?
Yeah.
I can get their popcorn chicken?
I didn't realize until last year when we started talking about it a lot more. The fanfare for that was more than just me. I mentioned it and it was like, wait, you like the Pilgrim? Wait, you like the Pilgrim? I'm like,
it is a cult favorite.
I think we've talked about this with some other fans is they should have kind of like how there's Christmas in July, have like Thanksgiving in June.
Mad Mex, which is a local, like, sort of chain Mexican restaurant.
Okay.
They have the Goblerito, which is like the burrito version of that.
Kind of want to try
which
that.
They do, I think, in like the half-year point between Thanksgiving, they, for like a day, have the Goblerito.
Yeah, I need to try that.
It's good. It's good. I like that you can also just get it in like bowl form. So
okay.
You can just like eat it all in a bowl.
Yeah, I need to try
it's
that.
It's amazing.
Question number 3. When you're sleeping, do you have your door open or closed?
Closed. I can't have my door open. I can't have my closet door open. Nothing can be open.
Okay.
I'm convinced that something's just watching.
I've talked about this where for me, I've always been closed, but then I know people that are like, well, I've always had it open. And I'm like,
yeah.
What? You said, how?
My dad is like that and it makes me uncomfortable.
Like,
how do you not just think that someone's just like chilling there looking at you?
For me, it's not even that. It's just like I want to sleep, so I want the door closed so like no outside light can get in.
That too. I feel like it's some sort of like hibernation thing, like putting me in my own space alone.
And then I feel like if someone comes through the door, like that'll get me. But if it's already open, like you can just
I
step
don't
in.
know. You can just walk in. Yet I'd like wake up maybe if you open the door.
Yeah.
But if you just like kind of creep in with the door already open.
Yeah.
Same with the closet. Because I used to like hear, not like there's like stories about it, but all those stories that like people living in people's attics, like homeless people that like live in people's attics and they just never know. I have to keep my closet door closed because I'm convinced that like this might be the day that someone's in my attic.
All right. Question number 4. This is a new one that I've been trying out.
All right.
Rank the fast food chicken nuggets between McDonald's, Burger King, and Wendy's.
McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King.
Okay. Because I'm waiting for the person to give me why Burger King should be 1 or 2 and why one of the other 2 is 3.
Could I like add Chick-fil-A as an option? Because like Chick-fil-A's grilled chicken nuggets are pretty cool. And also they have really good sauce.
I think the reason why I don't use them is because like McDonald's, Burger King, and Wendy's are like the 3 traditional fast food burgers. Like their menus are similar. I don't want to say the same, but like their own different variations. And obviously I feel like, to me, like you said McDonald's number 1, right?
Yes.
Yeah. To me, that's number 1.
It depends how you feel though. Sometimes you're just in the mood for Wendy's chicken nuggets.
They scorned me last time.
They did you dirty?
But it was because I hadn't got nuggets in there in a while. Like one of my favorite dipping sauces, and I had a craving for it. I tried Wendy's first. Is honey.
Yes,
I went to when they first had the nuggets, and for many years they always had honey. So I went up, ordered like, oh yeah, I'll have this nuggets, blah blah blah, and they're like, what dipping sauce? I'm like, honey mustard.
No, just honey.
And I'm like, they're like, oh, we don't have that. I'm like,
what do you mean?
Since when? Like when?
Have you ever put honey on pizza?
No.
It was a big thing when I lived in Colorado. Never heard of it until I tried it, and I was like, I don't dislike this.
I'm gonna have to try that.
It's better on leftover pizza.
Okay. The thing that I used to do when I was in school, always with pizza day, was applesauce. And I would take the pizza and dip it in applesauce. Really good.
Interesting.
Yes. I have not done it since then because it was more just like, oh, like I'll order the pizza, I order the applesauce.
It's a pained college kid thing. And then you're like, I can't do this outside. But interesting.
And then like we would get like sometimes with Papa John's pizza, we get the garlic sauce. I get one. I put the garlic sauce in the applesauce, stir it up, and dip it in. Oh.
Sounds terrifying, but I'll trust your word and maybe try it because I also enjoy garlic sauce a lot.
We'll go with question number 5. Best physical portrayal of the Joker.
Oh, loud. Definitely. Probably Heath Ledger.
Okay, I agree.
I'm just big fan of that. Big fan. I always constantly put over how much I love Danny DeVito as the Penguin. So whenever I think of the Batman movies, I'm just like, Danny DeVito. What a man. Love Danny DeVito as the Penguin.
I haven't rewatched that in a while. I know I need to. My girlfriend's a huge fan of Tim Burton, but has never seen those Batman movies.
They're like, I love them.
Yeah.
I love them so much. Mm-hmm. Danny DeVito as the Penguin is like my favorite thing.
I need to revisit that. But I know like
the giant rubber duck, best.
Oh yeah.
The best.
I think of all like the toys and everything at that time too.
Yeah.
And like that's when I like fell in love with Batman.
Yeah.
There was Batman Returns, and then like I think that's roughly the time the animated series kicked off. Mm-hmm. So it was just so many memories of that. So
good.
But yeah, I agree. Heath Ledger is just amazing.
Unbeatable.
When I watch him in those movies or that movie, there's times I don't look at him like, oh, that's Heath Ledger. I go, oh, that's the Joker. Yeah. There's only a couple of times where like the lights on him just right and the makeup's kind of wearing off. We're like, okay, I can see Heath Ledger, but the rest of that is just the Joker.
That's the Joker.
And that's a compliment.
Absolutely. Oh, for sure. Incredible.
All right, question number 6, which I tailor around my guest. And for you, sometimes I don't know what I'm going to ask, but something will trigger me in the middle and I'll go, that's it.
Okay.
For you, if you had your option to do ghost hunting at any place in the United States or let's do the world, what would it be? And why, obviously? I
don't have a like specific, but one, I don't know if I'd want to like ghost hunt there. I honestly feel like it would be kind of lackluster. I want to do the Lizzie Borden house. I just kind of want to go.
Okay.
I'd love to do an abandoned amusement park just because I think that would be crazy. Because there's a lot of like, I don't know, I think that would be a lot of fun. Do an abandoned amusement park.
For me, it would either be the White House.
That would be cool.
Because there's like I fell in love with a lot of the ghost stories of the White House.
Yeah, that's crazy. Because you never think about it until you're like, oh, I guess. Yeah. There's a lot going on there.
Like one ghost story I remember reading when I was a kid that one of the gardens was planted by Dolly Madison. Mm-hmm. And some president years upon years, decades, centuries or century so later wanted the wife wanted it moved. And like the ghost of Dolly Madison appeared and told the worker to stop.
Yeah.
And there's like, I know they're like Abraham Lincoln, because the other side of that is if I didn't do the White House, I would do theater. Ford's Theater?
Ford's Theater?
Yeah. I blanked on. I'm like, is it Ford's Theater? Sort of guessing.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ford's Theater, just like that. And like
that would be, also super interesting.
Where he like died the across the street. Like
an abandoned theater would be super cool to do too. But yeah, I think for me it would be like an abandoned amusement park. Not like I think there would be like crazy amounts of ghosts there, just because I think it would be like interesting.
I know like here in this area we have abandoned Jogga Lake. And like Jogga Lake, it was an amusement park.
Oh yeah.
That's since it's now sold and everything.
Did you see the story about those people that went into an abandoned zoo and they found like a shark that was in water? Or it was like, when it was open, it was like not a live shark. Like it was already like a taxidermied shark. Mm-hmm. But it was Australia, I think. I'll show you the picture. It's like imagining going through, like doing some urban exploration. And finding like this fucking giant great white shark hanging out. Yeah, it's terrifying.
Oh God, yeah, that'd be... That sounds like Australia, though.
I know. It was the most Australian thing I've ever heard, but I have to find it. Like
the most Australian thing besides a gigantic spider.
Yes. Just gigantic, like insects in general.
Yeah.
I bet I can find it writing abandoned zoo shark. Because not to mention, it's like... But, just not even that, it's like taxidermy. It's just like bad looking taxidermy at this point because it's just been like hanging out, bro. Like imagine just like finding that.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's like dilapidated taxidermy.
Yeah.
Which makes it even worse. Nothing's weirder than bad taxidermy.
Oh yeah.
Bad taxidermy's messed up.
All right, we're getting closer to bell time, so we're definitely gonna have to wrap this up. But any final thoughts or last minute plugs before we go?
Not really. I'm glad that we could talk. It was a good conversation to.
Thank you.
You know.
It wasn't your traditional thing, because the thing that kind of sparked
just casual questions.
The thing that sparked this interview was a real casual conversation we had about how a lot of other podcasts will just like they kind of have generic questions like, well, how did you become a wrestler, and like, what were your inspirations?
You can find that on anywhere, man.
Yeah, like I've always said, like Magnum CK, for example, he's so good at like just going on like a tour of podcast to where I'll catch him on like some other one. They'll be like, well, how did you become a wrestler? And I'm just like, his answers are already in my head. He'll find a way to tell a little bit differently, but I'm like, I know
he's
how.
Such an actor.
Yeah. And I'm like, if you just search Magnum CK before you did the interview, that's why like even before I did this, I tried to search for music. I'm like, I just want to get different perspective and I just want to find stuff because I don't do, well, how did you become a wrestler? Like,
because it's boring. No one wants to see that either.
the way that you said it, and I'll never forget, it's like some people conduct interviews as a job interview.
Yeah.
And that's not how these should work.
It sounds like a bad job interview, like when some people are doing it. Like, why do you want it? Why do you want this job? I don't know.
What are your greatest strengths?
I don't know. Like, don't put me on the spot like this. But, absolutely.
You want to throw out your social media for those who don't already know?
Yes, it is. My Instagram is bloody_adorable, and my Twitter is bloodyxadorable, which I'm pretty sure that's right. If not, just like switch those around. I always get it confused. If you search Bloody Adorable in some way, shape, or form, it will come up. Yeah. My Facebook is Wrestling's Jinx. I don't really use it because, like, Facebook. Yeah. But, yeah. I try to be funny. I do post about where I'm going to be, so hopefully people can come actually see me wrestle.
And you're going to have a death match soon.
Hell yeah. I had a hardcore match, but I want to have, like, an actual death match.
That one was for Caden.
Yes. He has to be there.
All right. Thanks, Jinx.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I'm glad to see that no one has left. But now you're asking yourself, Dr. Dan, are you going to tell us what the DCR system is? And I will tell you now. The 3 simple principles that change everyone's lives: dedication, confidence, and respect. D, C, and R. If one is dedicated to themselves, confident in oneself, and respectful of oneself, there is nothing that they cannot accomplish. Those 3 principles are the building blocks of anything you wish to achieve. If you just remember D, C, and R, there is nothing that you cannot accomplish. But sometimes you feel that isn't enough. Sometimes you need to be a little more focused on the task at hand. But don't worry. To go along with dedication, confidence, and respect, you can always remember rule number 1.
And there you have it. The bloody adorable Jinx appearing right here on Wrestling Cheers. And it was such a fun conversation, as you heard. And, you know, I don't have wrestlers do this a whole lot, but just seeing this the next day on Twitter just made me really, I don't want to just say happy, but it was just like really cool that to get this type of like tweet out. Normally wrestlers will promote the show when the episode comes out, but the day after we recorded this, she wrote, "Yesterday I had an amazing time sitting down and talking with Wrestling Cheers. Awesome dude, fun convo about how good the Saw franchise actually is and things that maybe in real life scare me." So, I mean, that was a month ago, and there you finally heard the conversation I had with Jinx a month ago. And normally I do try to put out episodes really quick from the time that I record them, but sometimes it's good to have episodes waiting just in case there's some sort of like issue with recording and I can have something that I can get out pretty quick. So, yeah, this is actually going to be the first of 2 episodes this week, because obviously you're getting this episode early, and I kind of forgot to mention that. Later this week, I will be releasing a part 2 of a crossover episode with Center Stage, and honestly, as of right now that I'm recording this intro, I do not know if they have released or will be releasing part 1, hopefully right around this time that this is coming out, maybe within a day or so afterwards, but on our normal day, going to be releasing the part 2 crossover with Center Stage. I don't think there's a whole lot of like conversation crossover. There's a little bit, but I don't know. This is just me putting out my episodes and I don't know, getting stuff done a little bit early in my week. So hopefully that comes out on time. If not, it's going to come off a little weird, but anyway. Also, I would like to give a huge thank you to Ohio Championship Wrestling for allowing me to get that interview before last month's show. And of course, I gotta promote them for this coming Saturday, April 20th, will be Tradition 16. Matches will be featuring a brass ring gauntlet match between Matt Taylor, Gino DiCapo, Johnny Patch, Grant Andrews, Dustin Reyes, and Flex Jordan. Now, the winner of this brass ring gauntlet will basically get a Money in the Bank style opportunity to cash in against the champion whenever, wherever. Also, a number one contenders match for the OCW Tag Team Championship. We have former champions Warhorse versus also former champions the Electra Company. The OCW Women's Championship would be on the line. Megan Myers challenging the champion, Katie Arquette. The Ohio Heritage Championship will be in a no DQ match with the champion Tanu versus James Hickley, formerly known as Security Guard James. And then we have the main event, the championship match, the OCW Championship will be put on the line in a cage match. The Show, Robbie Starr versus No Shame Jimmy Shane. That is this Saturday, April 20th. Doors open at 6 p.m. First bell will be at 7 p.m. at Chaparral's Event Center, 2418 South Arlington Street, Akron, Ohio. You can get your tickets at ocwrestling.net. A full bar and concession stand will also be on hand. So, with all that being said and done, let's wrap this show up. You can find myself at Heavyset330 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, much like you can find this show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, facebook.com/WrestlingCheers, twitter.com/WrestlingCheers, and instagram.com/WrestlingCheers. Email, if you so choose to desire, WrestlingCheers@gmail.com. And we have the merch store over at whatamaneuver.net. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you're listening to this fine podcast, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Podbean, WrestlingCheers.podbean.com. Check out our friends on the Trending Topics Network, such as All Beer Inside, Eurovision Showcase, Old School at the Movies, and Wrestling with Altitude. Check out our other podcasting friends, such as Pod Van Dam, The Road Home from Wrestling, Kick Out at 2, The IndieCast, Center Stage, So Bros Network, Big Gold Belt Podcast, Spotlight Series, and I Got Your 5 Stars. Check out our other non-podcasting friends such as Thrift Store Jobber, The Savage Dash, Set Tab Photo, Powerslam.tv, use Wrestling Cheers all one word and get your first month free, Ringside Shots Photography, Sickening Pictures, Wrestle Void, Key on Sports, Stay Tough, Midwest Territory, Southern Underground Pro Wrestling, who also has a show coming up this weekend. Obviously not in our market per se, but gotta give some love to Southern Underground Pro with their show April 21st at the Basement East, 917 Woodland Street, Nashville, Tennessee. Tickets are just $20. Doors open at 1:30. Bell is at 2. And that is Southern Underground Pro Wrestling presents Hold Your Ground. You will see Jaden Newman versus Craig Mitchell, Joshua Bishop versus Manders, Matt Justice versus Cabana Man Dan. Matt Justice making his Southern Underground Pro debut. Logan Stunt versus Zach Cooper, Mr. Brickster versus AC Mack, Anthony Henry versus O'Shea Edwards, Kevin Koo versus a mystery opponent, Alley Cat versus Logan Easton LaRue, Dominic Greeny in a Bone Collector's Challenge. He's basically put out an open challenge, and he has said that whoever answers will submit or be knocked out. And we have the main event, the Bone Storm Championship, on the line with the champion Brett Eisen versus the WWN champion J.D. Drake. Oh, and last but not least, the official graphic designer of Wrestling Cheers, Moy Boy Designs. That will do it for us here on Wrestling Cheers, where everybody knows your name, and I want to play a game. Later.
Making your way in the world today takes everything you got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Would you like to get away? Sometimes you wanna go where everyone